of voters at the place of their dislocation as was instructed by the president. Yesterday, the president of Ukraine, Poroshenko, had a telephone conversation with the president of Russian Federation, Putin. During this conversation, it was stressed that it is necessary to ensure the complete ceasefire and silence. After this regime of silence was announced, the intensity of shellings was reduced several times. During the last day, no one of our military was killed, 5 military were wounded, but in some areas of the ATO zone, the terrorists continue to violate the regime of ceasefire. The most active they were in Avdiivka and Donetsk airport and Debaltseva. The terrorists were shelling the positions of Ukrainian military near Krasnogorivka, of Mariinsky district, Pisky near Tonenki, Novobakhmutivka, Yasinovatsky district of Donetsk region, and near Mykolаivka, Volnovatsky district of Donetsk region. Ukrainian military twice repelled the offense of Donetsk airport. 3 tanks, artillery, and from tanks, artillery, and small arms, the checkpoint of ATO forces was 3 times shelled near Malo Orlivka of Donetsk region. In the north, the terrorists 3 times attacked our forces near Smila. The president of Ukraine, Poroshenko, signed the order about awarding 172 military servicemen and people from the Ministry of Interior for courage and heroism, which were demonstrated during the battles in the zone of ATO. One fact of air reconnaissance was fixed one fact of air reconnaissance by drones was fixed on the border with occupied Crimea. At the same time, according to the data of intelligence, the Russians continue to supply their personnel, ammunition, and weapons. In this connection, Ukraine insists on expanding the presence of OSCE along all the border with Russian Federation on territories which are not under control of Ukrainian power, and it's Voloshin, the crosspoints Voloshin, Novoshakhtinsk, Kuybyshevo-Mariinska, Kuybyshevo-Дяково, Матвеев, Курган, Весело, Вознесенське, Гуково, Червона Могила, Донецьк, Краснодарський, Донецьк, Північний, Успенська, Олексєво, Тузлівка, Нижній Швирьов, Єлан, Можаївка, Титовка, Шияна, Авілова, Федорівка, Штрамко. Ukraine welcomes the fact of sending 2 first drones for the needs of special monitoring mission of OSCE in Donetsk region after 3 months of delay. Till the end of October, the number of observers from OSCE in the ATO zone will grow to 150 persons. The Senator Democrat Karl Levin, who heads the Committee on Armed Forces, and Senator Republican James Inhofe stated that U.S. will provide Ukraine the assistance, including with the weapons. The Ukrainian people are faced with armed militants who are equipped and trained and supported by Russia, and from recent times the armed forces of Russia. According to them, the United States will start providing equipment that will help Ukraine to protect its territory. Such equipment will include anti-tank for protection from the Russian armored personnel, carriers, and also ammunition, armored vehicles, and other special equipment, including special communication equipment. According to the peace plan of the president, the state border service makes actions as to establishing the safety and security along the line of military actions inside Donetsk and Lugansk regions. The main automobile roads are equipped by, on the main automobile roads, they are equipping the control checkpoints where the passport and other documents are inspected. Yesterday, at one of the checkpoints near Mariupol, the border guards stopped two citizens of Ukraine who, by Mercedes car, were transporting big number of household equipment, more than 40 units. This was taken without any documents, only they had a permit from the leadership of the terrorist organizations. The criminal case has been started. The measures that are implemented by the State Border Service are mandatory, and they have the objective to ensure that the citizens of Ukraine who live in the territories close to the zones of conflicts are not threatened by by actions of illegal armed groups and other illegal activities, despite the attempts of the leaders of the bands to imitate the unity of positions between the terrorists of Lugansk Republic and Cossacks of Ottoman Kazitsyn. There are big clashes. At the same time, on the liberated territories of Donbass, the renewal works continue. In Slavyansk, the works on resuming the work of educational establishments are conducted. Also, 80% of the facilities of public health protection have been restored. In Mykolaiivka, the secondary educational establishments are repaired, 70% of them, and 50% of preschool educational establishments. The decisions are made to renew all the houses which were ruined. Also, 9 ruined houses in Kramatorsk were inspected, and the works on resuming the houses continue. Money are provided from the local budgets. As of the 21st of October, on the liberated from terrorist territories, since August, about 2,000 facilities resumed their work and were restored. The units of the social protection informed that as of the 21st of October, the financial assistance came to the units of social protection in the amount of almost 3 million hryvnias, which is wire transferred to post offices and banking establishment. And these are the money to be paid to families with children, families with low income, and so on. Also, the need of the second tranche is 275 million hryvnias just for assistance to such families in Donetsk and Lugansk regions. Also, these regions have already received 252 million hryvnias, which is 91.6% of the requirements of the second tranche of October. Now, the money are coming to the regions, and they are paid to the population via the post offices and banking institutions. Also, the list of 154 settlements is sent to the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, and these are in Lugansk region, where there is a need to urgently re-elect local bodies of power.
One question about those voters which, according to the request of the president, soldiers, Ukrainian soldiers, they were put on the voters list. As I understand, they will understand in 80 region. International organizations confirm that Ukrainian militarymen don't use cassette mines in ATO area. Do you have evidence that terrorists or Russian troops are using that weaponry? The decision of the president is to include him to the list of voters military men who are in ATO area. That will allow them to vote. Can you enjoy their constitutional right as citizens of Ukraine? As to the evidence, we have evidence that against the ATO armed forces, the enemy used shells, reactive shells from a Smerch system. They fired these shells with that marking. They were produced in 2003. Ukraine received such shells last time in 1991, even before Ukraine became independent. That fact demonstrates that shells that were used by terrorists
Федерації, де вироблялися. А також це каже про те, що
it shows that they were used by representatives of Russian armed forces, because to launch and from a system that can be done only by people who are trained. Terrorists didn't have the training to use such shells. Thank you very much. Is there any other question? Two questions. Timchuk informed that yesterday from Russia to Lysenko a column of 500 military men arrived and with military equipment. Do you have information about that? We requested for that information. We don't have confirmation how many and what, but we know that the column has come. Now we collect additional information. The second question about guerrillas. There was a question yesterday. In addition to explosion at chemical plant in Donetsk, also terrorists, as a result of guerrillas, they lost two motor crews. Do you have any information about that? We informed you that even among the terrorists there are some misunderstandings, and they come to armed conflicts between those gangs. So we don't exclude that. There could be patriotic people who live on those territories and who are called now guerrillas, or that could be because of clashes between terrorists who are trying to divide spheres of influence or responsibility and areas from where they can get some resources. So, any question? Is it correct that our military men fought off attacks of terrorists and we don't have any casualties? We don't have anybody dead, but 5 were wounded, and they fought off 2 powerful attacks against Donetsk airport. There is checkpoint 32 near Smil and Horosha, and the boys are calling to all TV channels, and they say that they are under shelling from all the sides. They cannot do anything. They have about 150 of them there, and they demand something, assistance, support, or rotation. Do you know anything about that? We don't have information that they are surrounded or they don't have ammunition. Yesterday, the situation, there was no conversation about surrounding and shelling. Yes, I don't have the information right now about that they are in a ring. If there is no other question, thank you very much. Tomorrow, the briefing will be at 12:30 about Russian fakes.